you will learn about the causes of the revolt of 1857. The revolt of 1857, the Indian Rebellion of 1857, the uprising of 1857, the Great Rebellion, the Indian Mutiny, the Sepoy Mutiny. These are the different names for India's first war of independence against the British. Indians from all walks of life, rulers, landlords, peasants, tribals and sepoys wanted an end to the colonial rule and were a part of this rebellion. What led to this great rebellion? After the Battle of Buxar in 1764, the company appointed residents who were meant to intervene in the affairs of the states. Many Nawabs and Rajas started losing their authority and were unhappy with this arrangement. The doctrine of lapse, introduced by Lord Dalhousie, was used by the company to annex many Indian states like Satara, Sambalpur, Udaipur and Nagpur. The kingdom of Jhansi was also annexed. Since the company refused to accept Rani Lakshmi Bai's adopted son as the kingdom's heir, the subsidiary alliance policy was used to forcefully annex Awadh. Furthermore, the company planned to bring an end to the Mughal dynasty. It stopped minting the name of the Mughal king on its coins and declared that Bahadur Shah Zafar would be the last Mughal king. Apart from this, the land revenue systems introduced by the company made the lives of the peasants and the zamindars miserable. To add to their misery, huge taxes were levied, which forced peasants to borrow money from money lenders who seized their lands if they failed to pay back the loan. The British also brought in many reforms into Indian society. They encouraged widow remarriage, stopped the evil practice of sati, and gave importance to English language education. After 1830, more and more Christian missionaries started coming to India and were allowed to function freely and even own property and land. In 1850, a law was passed that made it easier to convert to Christianity. Those who converted were allowed to inherit the property of their ancestors. All these reforms stifled the Indians, and they felt that their traditions, customs, and religions were being destroyed. The sepoys were also dissatisfied by the company's rule and were unhappy with the conditions of their service, pay, and allowances. Some of the rules that the company introduced were also against their religious sentiments. For instance, during those times, many people believed that they would lose their caste and religion if they crossed a sea. So, when the sepoys were asked to travel by sea to fight a war, they opposed it, for which they were severely punished. This made the sepoys resent the colonial rule. Moreover, they were unhappy with the situation in the countryside too. Many sepoys were peasants whose families lived in the villages, so they were also aware of the situation in the countryside. Soon, the anger spread amongst the sepoys. The seizure of Awadh by the company in 1856 inflamed the minds of the sepoys. What added to their discontentment were rumors that the cartridges they were using were greased with the fat of pigs and cows, which was against their religion. This was the trigger that unified the sepoys for the revolt of 1857. You have now reached the end of the module on causes of the revolt of 1857. In this module, you learnt that the policies introduced by the British resulted in the rulers of many Indian states losing their power, their armed forces and their kingdoms. The land revenue systems made the lives of peasants and zamindars miserable. Reforms such as widow remarriage, abolishing sati, and spreading English education stifled the Indians as they felt that the British were destroying their traditions, customs, and their religion. The sepoys of the company's forces were dissatisfied by the company rule and were very unhappy with the conditions of their service, pay, and allowances.